Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am so sorry, by the way. This is a channel member video. If you're watching this on the replay, this is a channel member video that I am going to be making public for the rest of my channel shortly thereafter. But sorry to you guys, my channel members, about having to postpone this a little bit. I haven't worked outside of the house since like 2016. I've always been like a remote worker. And so now I do some volunteering in the city, helping like elderly Parisians kind of like navigate their cell phones and their computers as well. And like just leaving my house like 3 times a week is exhausting to me, even though it's like 3 hours or something like that. I'm still getting used to it. I just started it last week and, I still haven't quite adjusted yet. So that's why I was so tired. I needed to take a quick little nap. So thank you guys all so much for being here. Let's jump into that story about Javi Marroquin and his ex-fiancee and baby mama, Lauren Comeau. So the Sun broke the news that Javi had to file for a restraining order against Lauren Comeau just a few days ago. In fact, it was just this past Monday. And in his filing for the restraining order, he accused her of hitting him in front of their child, Eli, who is still very, very young. I believe he's about 3 years old at this point. So it's really sad above all else that, he allegedly witnessed all of this going down. So in his petition for the order, Javi accused him of actually beating him. Accused her of actually beating him on several occasions. It wasn't just the one time. And I really want to make that clear because I think a lot of people, including myself, before I went back and reread the article for this video, thought that it only happened that one time and that he immediately filed for a restraining order or a protection from abuse. But no, according to his filing, it happened on multiple occasions, which just makes it all the more sad, So he claimed in his claims in the Delaware filing read, and I quote, "Respondent assaulted me in front of our children. I worry she will come to my house and assault me again and or try to take our son. She has assaulted me on multiple occasions, and due to my career, I want to protect my job and my kids." How sad is that, you guys? So it seems as though this last time, the one that he's actually filing about, happened literally in front of just Eli, but that like on other occasions, it might have happened in front of Lincoln as well. Because if you go back and listen to his filing, he accused her of hitting him in front of their children. And that's more than one, right? Children is the multiple of child. So it is quite sad to think that not only has Eli witnessed this, that's already sad in and of itself, but apparently Lincoln may have also witnessed this as well. And Lincoln is, of course, quite a bit older than Eli is, which means that he has a better memory of this happening. And that's just incredibly sad. I'm sorry, you guys. I have to adjust my gains. I'm hearing too much in the background. So that's just incredibly sad, right? That Lincoln has had to deal with 2 broken homes. His own mother, Cal, and Javi had a divorce. There's a lot of infidelity there. Then Javi moves on to Brianna, gets engaged to her. That splits up very quickly as well. And then what happens now? This Lauren girl comes along and infidelity breaks up this relationship. That it's so sad, tears him away from his brother. I really cannot believe what these young kids go through. And so later on in his claim, Javi continued on to say, and I quote, "The verbal argument, resulted in her closed fist punching me several times. She snatched my gold chain off my neck. Our 2-year-old son was present and witnessed." And the thing that makes this even more strange than anything is that literally the next day Javi requested for the restraining order and the PFA against her to be dropped. Isn't that weird, you guys? What do you think would motivate him to drop this order almost immediately after filing? Make sure you guys let me know because it is just so bizarre. So let's see here. I'm seeing some questions. Hi, Alex says, you know what? Can we really blame Lauren? I think at this point I would blame Lauren because you know what? Javi has been cheating on her, yes. But at the same time, it's like you as a grown woman, and she is in a better position than a lot of women. Like she has the money to get her own place and like not just like rent a place or like a temporary, like she bought a house by herself for herself and her son at such a young age as a single mom. So she did have the opportunity to shut the door behind her on him, but she instead chose to go back to him. And you're like, you know what I mean? So if you're going to go back to somebody that you know has cheated on you on several occasions, at that point, that is your own choice, you know? Like you either like be quiet about the cheating, I guess, or you leave. You know what I mean? I don't think that she should have beat him, especially allegedly, of course. I don't, and especially not in front of the children, because apparently this has happened on several occasions. So, to me at this point, she needs to take a bit of responsibility for what she has chosen to, put up with, in the realms of a partner. But it is kind of hard to say that at the same time, because, sometimes people say that about people who get physically, abused in relationships. And I don't think that's right. It's just, just leave the relationship. If you're not happy with this man cheating on you, leave the relationship. Don't resort to beating him, and especially not in front of children. Jaleesa says, Lauren should have just left him instead of laying her hands on him. I completely agree. Like this could very easily turn criminal. Like she's very lucky that at this point it hasn't, but it very well could result in her, maybe even losing custody of their son, Eli. This is a really, really serious thing. Anna says, hi, Grace. I'm a new member. I love your videos. Thank you so much, Anna. It is so nice to have you here. Thank you for being here. Julie says, don't do that, girl. Don't. I've never heard y'all defend a man. Well, do we blame him for hitting his significant other? Never. And I see that Alexis wants to defend herself here. So I'm going to skip ahead and come back to you, Nora. She says, I don't condone violence, but we can't really blame her for snapping at him for cheating on her constantly. It was a toxic relationship all around. I'm saying I understand why she snapped. Okay, I think I get what Alexis might be saying here. I don't think she's necessarily condoning violence or anything like that, but I think she is saying that she can kind of understand how, someone might snap. I think that this is kind of akin to the defense that sometimes battered women get when they like ultimately snap and like, beat, or ultimately sometimes, even like kill their abusers, like you just go through so much, and then eventually you snap and you lose sense of who you are, and like, everything. I think that is what Alexis is saying. But it definitely is worth reiterating here that Lauren did already leave this relationship. She's not trapped in this relationship. She's got her own home and everything. So at this point, I don't know that she is this innocent victim of this relationship. You know what I mean? Like I really cannot with this. And not only that, but from the very beginning, she knew who he was. He went on television and called her a third choice. He was talking to Brianna about how he had this girl, and that was Lauren, willing to go over to Dover to be with him, and he was still trying to get with Kayla at the same time. And she just kept pushing forward. You know what I mean? Nora says, no matter how much of a dog he is, you don't put your hands on people. She is out of control. I completely agree. I hope that they have finally ended this relationship for good, because it is toxic all the way around. Just to hear that this allegedly happened on multiple occasions and that both children have witnessed it, it really does break my heart. It's not right. It is absolutely not right. And in his filing, Javi also filed for temporary custody of their son, Eli, as well. But guys, this is what I'm not understanding, and I really want to get you guys' thoughts on it. I have a little bit of a theory. So he filed this on Monday, June 21st. And that same day, there were photos and videos of him. And he filed this in Dover, by the way, might I add, in Delaware. But on the same day that this was supposedly filed, there were photos and videos being put up of him and her on vacation in Orlando with the kids. So then you kind of wonder, well, were these photos and videos kind of like in the arsenal for them, and then they decided to put it out there on the same day that this filing happened? Like, did they already kind of make up that same day, and then he ultimately just went to formally retract it the next day? Like, these photos are trying to get us like so consumed with like the proof of the relationship, because people have always been speculating. Like, you've seen them, like, people remember when they went to the sugar factory or whatever that was. It was like, okay, same table, same like sugar bowl in front, but you don't see them sitting next to each other. So are they together? Blah, blah, blah. It's always been speculation. But at this point, the photos that conveniently came out the same day that Javi filed for this restraining order were definitive proof that they were indeed back together. And that's all, people were talking about at the time. Do you guys think that that's something that they put out there on that day on purpose to get us not to talk about this filing? Because, there are people like, of course, the son evidently, but also in the community, in the fandom, who regularly look up these court records. And so I don't know, were they trying to buy time? Did Javi think that if he almost immediately retracted his request for the restraining order, that it wouldn't make it out to the public, not just the press, but just like the overall courts, the publics? I really don't know. Hi, Princess Tia. It's so nice to see you here. And Colleen, as usual. Lauren joined the circus, was okay with the constant cheating. I do think he is the king of gaslighting. Walk away. He wasn't worth it. There was no need to get physical. I absolutely agree. Javi never once hid who he was from Lauren. From the very beginning, before she even had a kid with him, she knew that this man was willing to drop her in a hot minute, and she decided to accept that. So it's kind of like, let the men cheat in peace. It does not need to devolve into this. Clarissa says, oh, hi again, by the way, Clarissa. Do you believe that Lauren hit Javi? I'm skeptical because of how he acted in his divorce with Kale, acting like everything was her fault while hiding all the shady stuff that he was doing. That's a good question. I'd like you guys to chime in the comments as well. I personally do believe it because it's a very serious crime to lie about something like this. And I do know that like the other girls lie about things like this when it comes to PFAs, but I feel like for a man to come out and say that he's been abused and he needs help to go to the courts, I think it takes a lot. I really do. Like, yeah, he was playing victim to Kale, but he never went to the courts and asked for protection from her, right? And I think that like for men, that's a lot more difficult. That's why I believe that domestic violence against men is indeed underreported for that reason. So I do think that she did beat him. It's shocking to me. It is, because she never seemed like that type of person. But again, we don't know these people, right? Like we don't know who they really are. So maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe it is the type of person that she is, and especially for him to claim that it happened on multiple occasions, it's got to be pretty serious in my opinion. And I believe that he got enough evidence in his submission that he was able to get it granted, his restraining order and a PFA against her almost immediately. Like he retracted this the next day, but he already was granted the orders against her. Like it's quite wild out here. Like I'm sure he probably had photos, he had videos, his chain was broke. Like, he probably had quite a bit of stuff like that on her. Adicia, hey girl, says such a strange one, but then again, it is Javi. I know, it's really surprising. This was something I never expected to see coming. And, I do especially feel bad for Javi because this is not the first time he has allegedly been in a physically abusive relationship. If you recall, in the early days of Teen Mom 2, when he was married to Kale, or even dating Kale, sorry, let's start with dating Kale. She was on camera physically assaulting him. She was shoving his head, because she was frustrated about him not putting his dogs in the backyard while her friends' children were around. And then, in a reunion a couple of seasons later, Dr. Drew and, coaxed Kale into admitting that she had been violent with him on several other occasions off camera. So it is really sad to hear that this man is constantly finding himself in physically abusive relationships. No one deserves that. No one at all. Like, that's really heartbreaking. Yeah, I definitely think Javi is a bad person, a manipulative person, but at the same time, like, he still doesn't deserve to be physically abused at the end of the day. Alexa says, no one is worth jail time, let alone Javi. Exactly. Jail time, losing custody of your child, only getting supervised visitation with your child. Nobody is worth that. It's just not good. I think that the both of them do need to seek individual counseling and just leave this relationship finally. Like, it's not serving them in any way, shape, or form. If Javi were happy with this woman, he wouldn't be cheating on her left, right, and center. And if Lauren were happy with this man, she would not be, allegedly physically assaulting him, especially in front of her children. You don't know, how that's going to manifest in the kids as they get older. Like, that's very, very sad. Pink Geeky, hey girl, says, dang, I'm late. Don't worry, it's only just a little bit. We're just, scratching the tip of the iceberg here about this situation. The kind of question, Kiki, that's kind of lingering over right now is, why did those photos of him and Lauren on vacation in Orlando get leaked the same day that he filed for the order of protection against her in Delaware. The vacation was in Orlando, and those photos leaked as if they were there that day. But come to find out, he was filing for a restraining order against this woman that day in Delaware. Was that him, trying to kind of like take the buzz off of this, like by getting us to focus on like the fact that they're together and only talk about that? It's really interesting, right? Princess Tia says, it's Kale's dog. Are you sure it was Kale's dog? Because I could have sworn she was like, bring your dogs outside or whatever. Okay. But, either way, like she was really upset that he would not put the dogs away. But then he was upset. He's like, I can't put the dogs away because the fence, there's a hole in the fence and they'll get away. So it was a very frustrating situation all around, but still not a situation that merited violence, And so to hear that this happened to him twice now, allegedly, is very, very sad. Colleen says, I wonder how this will play into custody of their child. I wonder too, because I feel like once this is out there and an order like this has been granted against somebody, it really can turn nasty when it comes to fighting for custody of the children. In fact, when he filed for the protection order or the restraining order against Lauren, he also filed for temporary custody of their child, Eli. In fact, as I'm reading through the article, I don't see any confirmation about whether or not he actually got the temporary custody of their son. The only thing I know is that he was given a restraining order and he was given a PFA. They're both temporary against Lauren. And another thing that I'm not aware of is whether or not those things have since been dropped because he dropped his filing. I don't know. It's all happening so fast. This was Monday he filed. Tuesday he dropped it, and here we are on Thursday at this point. Let's see, what did I write here? He was granted. Yeah. So when they granted him these orders, sorry, let me remove this. When they granted him these orders, the court said, and I quote, that the court finds by a preponderance of the evidence that the respondent has, and the respondent is Lauren, committed an act of domestic violence against the petitioner, Javi, and further finds that there is an immediate and present danger of additional acts of violence. So, just like Colleen is asking, how do you guys think this will play into custody of the children in the future? This is incredibly serious that a court literally said that they are worried for Javi that Lauren could continue to be violent towards him and, be a form of danger against him and potentially the children as well. In fact, she's lucky at this point that Javi did not file for a restraining order on behalf of Eli as well. Can you imagine if he did that and, that was granted against her too when it comes to the child? It could have been really, really bad for her. The order said that Lauren was supposed to stay 100 feet away from Javi, his residence and workplace, except for visitation exchanges, and that she was only allowed to contact him by text or email regarding Eli. They really wanted a paper trail of everything that they were saying to one another because you're taking this very seriously. Domestic violence, you guys. Hey, Anna, she says, how long before Javi moves on to the next girl and gets her pregnant? That I don't know. I really hope that at this point he has sought some sort of intensive treatment for his sex and love addiction that he has admitted to having. And of course, that has been leading to his infidelities. And I think also like self-esteem issues have been causing him to, be unfaithful in his relationships. Like he's got a lot of issues. And I really hope that there are no more innocent women and children brought into this mess. I really don't want him to be the next Nick Cannon. What Nick Cannon is doing right now, Anna, like having kids with literally every woman, he's got like 4 or 6 different kids this year alone with multiple women is just disturbing. And I think he's got an issue too, probably similar to Javi and this whole like sex and love addiction and just other issues that are probably still going undiagnosed, unfortunately. Princess Tia says it was Bear. Oh, it was Bear. Okay, thank you so much, Tia. That's so nice to know. Yes. And then Jennifer says, I'm not saying he deserves it at all, but he also antagonizes his partners a lot. It's not so much poor guy who keeps finding these women, but toxic man who keeps creating these situations. I think this goes along with the devil's advocate that Alexis was playing a little bit earlier about how, yes, nobody deserves, to be physically abused, but you can kind of see how being mentally abused or like gaslit or, just, what I mean, tormented emotionally can lead to somebody acting out in this way. But, the thing that I said, Jen, earlier, Jen, I don't know if you're here, is that I would get it if like it was a couple where like they were stuck together and this just happened to happen one moment, like, you just snap or whatever, or like, it's a woman who's poor and she has to put up with this or whatever. But Lauren makes a lot of money. Didn't it come out that she didn't she say she was making like $20,000-$30,000 a month? She left Javi in the dust. She bought her own home for herself and her child, and she still decided to come back, and then allegedly become abusive with him. You know what I mean? It's like, at that point, is she really being pushed to the brink, or is she just, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm having a hard time wording this, but like, she already left this relationship. But at the same time, the cycle of abuse says that it takes 7 attempts to leave. So you do leave and then go back. I don't know. I really don't. But, I understand what you guys are saying, even though I don't like think there's any excuse for what Lauren did. I do get that sometimes, victims of abuse can just snap one day and it can turn violent or it can turn deadly. There have been cases like this where women have been just pushed so hard by abusive partners, and one day they just kill them or something like that. And then the court actually forgives these women because, they're taking into account all of the abuses that they've suffered. Although Javi never put his hands on Lauren, allegedly, as far as we know, he has been abusing her. In my opinion, emotionally and psychologically, with all the cheating, with all the manipulation, with all the gaslighting, like you mentioned, Jen, with like everything that he's been doing, against her as, a really terrible, toxic partner. Jen also says, he entered the family home Kale was living in, knowing full well he wasn't welcome there, and acted like he could be there just because they once lived there together. And, thanks for bringing that up, because that was something that I was thinking about before filming, but I forgot to write it down. He did do these sorts of things to really manipulate Kale and really just like put her, I want to say mal à l'aise, but it's French. It's like, at unease, or like, you know what I mean? Just constantly have her kind of scared, because legally he could be in that home. But in terms of like morally, is it right to be breaking into your marital home that you're no longer welcome in when it's just like a woman alone there with children? Like, why would you want to emotionally or mentally like torture someone like that? It's terrifying. Like, he was breaking in through basement windows. So, he's not a good person. I agree. But at the same time, it's just so sad that it even came to this violent point, you guys. Picture Kiki says, Javi needs to tread lightly because the military doesn't play that. See, that's the thing, Kiki. And in his filing, he said that because of his career, he really wanted to protect himself. I'm going to try to scroll back up here and see what exactly it was that he said. Blah, blah, blah. Virgo, blah, 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 blah. Where did I put that? Okay. Including myself, under the impression, he says, respondent assaulted me in front of our children. I worry she will come to my house and assault me again and or try to take our son. I want to protect my job and my kids. When he said that in his filing, I was like, which job? Is this a Teen Mom 2 thing that you don't really film for anymore? Or is it the military thing? Like, was he proactively trying to file something against her? It does beg the question there that, maybe some other stuff is going to come out about what's been going on in this relationship. And I really, truly hope that this is the final wake up call for Lauren, that, this needs to stop. When it comes to you someone getting a restraining order against you, I think that should be your breaking point in a relationship. You know what I mean? And Kiki, we got to keep a close eye out on what goes on with the military in this, because, like you said, this is going to get even worse, I believe. I think more information is going to come out pretty shortly. I think that Lauren is going to tell her side of things. I know that Clarissa is saying that he's no longer in the military, but I think he does recruiting or something like that. I remember him recently posting about like helping his sister, or like recruitments or this or that. Like, I think that that's what he's doing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Clarissa, or anybody else, but he's got something that he does, even though he's not like active duty or like reserves or anything like that anymore. Hey, Panda, I finally got off early enough to watch a live stream. I'm so happy. I saw your comment earlier in my community tab about wanting to watch this. I was like, yes, come back. 5 Eastern. Let's do this, girl. Cynthia Brown. See, thank you, Pink Jeep Kiki. So Cynthia Brown, or is that Centoya Brown? She recently got acquitted of murder because she was being abused so badly that she, eventually snapped at the end of the day. So although, violence is never right, you do also have to take into account all of the abuse that somebody has endured leading up to a final act. Clarissa says, it seems like Javi has an issue with seeking one abusive partner after another, and with being an abusive partner as well, because I do consider Javi to be an abusive partner himself. It's kind of like that campaign. Maybe he doesn't hit you, but he does XYZ. I think a lot of the things that people talk about there can apply to Javi. Like maybe he doesn't hit you, but he emotionally manipulates you by cheating on you or by trying to turn people against you, by doing X, by doing Y, by doing Z. I think he needs deep, 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 intense therapy to really fix himself. And, like you said, he's also seeking out abusive partners as well. We saw how Kale treated him, and, Lauren, we don't know her as much, but to hear that she has allegedly been physically assaulting him on multiple occasions, I kind of start to wonder, when did this start? Like, was it after the cheating stuff? Or was it from the very beginning? I really don't know. You never know. He didn't mention when it might have started. Jen says, I hear you, Grace. Lauren appears to have a really low self-esteem. I think that's why she keeps coming back. But with $20,000 a month, girl, buy you some self-esteem. Exactly. Like she's in a very different position than most young mothers, in abusive relationships. She should consider herself very lucky to be so financially independent that she doesn't need, to worry about food or shelter or anything like that when it comes to leaving Javi. If Javi never paid her child support, she'd still be fine. She'd be more than fine. And, that should hopefully help her to leave this relationship a bit easier. You know what I mean? I really, really hope that now that this restraining order, PFA against her, has been granted, she wakes the heck up, because honestly, next time she very well could lose custody of her son. And I think that that's the last thing in the world she wants. You can very, see clear as day that she loves and adores that child, and you just don't want to see that happen to her. Sorry, Clarissa, we were talking about this earlier. So, she says yes. So I think she says yes. Clarissa, are you saying yes, that he does recruiting with the military? Hey, Rach, she says, I can see him being worried about his military job because Lauren could go file on him if he defends himself in a physical altercation. Exactly. Didn't we see something like this play out with Janelle and one of her men? I forgot who it was at the time. Was it Cortland? No, was it Gary? She got him like dishonorably discharged from the military after accusing him of domestic violence. I don't know whether or not the domestic violence was true. I wasn't really following hardcore at that time, but things like that can indeed happen. No shade, but what exactly is his career? So he kind of I don't know, right now, I think he's doing recruiting for the military, and he's got his CrossFit gym. I don't know if that's still working out or not, or if he closed it. I don't know. He had this thing called CrossFit Killshot, and then he also coaches for Lincoln's football games as well. I don't know if that's paid or if that's volunteered or whatever, but he does those kinds of things at the moment. Colleen, Big Kiki, LOL. When I was in the military, I tried looking Javi up but couldn't find him. Well, that's a little bit interesting. No information at all, not even I don't know, reserve, discharged honorably, dishonorably discharged. I do think that that's quite strange, because I definitely think he was in the military. I mean, right? Wouldn't Caleb have exposed him if he was lying about that? I don't know, but that's quite weird, Kiki. Yes. So yes, it was Gary that Janelle had kind of booted from the military at that point. Rachel, she had marks all over her when she filed on him, and then he broke the no contact order too. Oh my God, that's really sad to hear. Okay, so there's your thing. If a man in the military is found guilty of something like this, they would be dishonorably discharged at that point, and rightfully so, because the military does not stand for this sort of thing. Jennifer says, I think Gary did hit Janelle, or he at least shoved or pulled her. I wouldn't doubt it either. Either way, it was wrong of him, but also with Janelle, she cries wolf a lot. Her faked miscarriage comes to mind. Remember when she went in a tub and then she put Kool-Aid on the tub floor, and she took a picture of it and claimed to have had a miscarriage? And then I think we saw her lie about some other stuff too when it came to the men. That's why I ask. But apparently Gary did actually, put his hands on her, and that's sad. And he deserved to be dishonorably discharged for that at the end of the day. Man, these people are all so messy. I swear, you guys, it's sad that there are children involved with all of these people, because it's very, very sad to see how unsound they are. Anyway, you guys, that's a little bit of an update on this situation with Lauren and Javi. I'm going to keep a close eye on everything going on. If there are any more updates about it, I will definitely hop on live or do a pre-recorded video for you guys to let you know about what's been going on, because this is quite shocking news. It really is shocking. It's really troubling news, and I feel like it's only going to escalate from here. I feel like Lauren is probably incredibly pissed off and incredibly humiliated. Remember, she makes money by selling Arbonne products, right? And in order to do that, you have to have a good reputation. And being a domestic abuser is not a good reputation to have. And so I do think that this could really impact her business, and I don't think that she's going to take that lightly. And I'm not saying that as if she's a victim. If this happened, then I don't know, like she might even be more pissed than ever, and she might retaliate against him in, a really, really horrific way. I don't know what's going to happen, but I would not be surprised if she decided that she's had it, all bets are off, and she's going to go to the press, or she's going to do this, that, or the other to kind of level the playing field. Because like you guys have been saying a little bit earlier, Javi has been treating this girl like garbage from the very beginning. And so for her, she's probably like, you've been treating me like dirt at the bottom of your shoes since we started this relationship like 4 years ago. I've been taking I've never like sold a story about you. I've never done this. And you turn around and you get a restraining order against me. You accuse me of, you know what I mean? Like you put all this stuff, you put like my motherhood in jeopardy. I feel like this could really ignite something like wild in her. And I think that the floodgates are about to open here. I really do think that they are. This is going to be crazy, you guys. It is. Princess Tia says, actually, it's kind of sad that he choked her with a blanket. That is in regards to Gary and Janelle. Thanks for reminding me of that. I remember hearing that swirling around. That's got to be terrifying. Anyone who could choke you can kill you. So this guy, grade A psycho. And thank God she got away from him. But the sad thing is that look who she married now, another grade A psycho. Clarissa, sorry I've been so late on these. Yes, I will be doing more recaps of season 2 again. In fact, I'm going to try to do one tomorrow. I'm going to try and hop on and do one tomorrow. I'm going to be here all day. I've got what's tomorrow? Is tomorrow Friday? Yes. So I'm going to try to do one a little bit earlier tomorrow, maybe lunchtime, Eastern Standard Time, or maybe a little bit earlier, like 10 a.m. or something like that. YouTube didn't send me a notification. So sorry, Maurice. So sorry you didn't get the notification, but I am going to be keeping this on demand so that you can go back and watch the replay of it. We got quite a lot of ground covered here, and I think you will be quite interested to hear all the different opinions about this situation. You guys, thank you so much for sharing all of your opinions on this. And again, I will keep a close eye on it for you and let you know if there are any updates. So in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.